What sounded like a good piece of advice until you actually tried it. Company loyalty will pay off in the end. You just need to work hard. Reality, you need good interview skills for promotions and to be willing to change jobs if you're not getting what you want from your current one. The best time to look for a new job is when you don't need one. I was told that it was okay to insert a copper penny into a screw-in fuse box as a temporary solution until replacement fuses could be obtained. That was a terrible mistake. If I hadn't smelled overheating wires in the wall, it would have burned the house down. Anything is a fuse if you believe in yourself. If you don't know what to take at university, just take whatever interests you. That's a lot of time and money I am never getting back. Good advice for electives. You're more likely to get good grades on something that interests you. Get the gen eds covered as a priority, though. My fault for inexperience, I guess, but taking things slow when talking to a girl you like. Being upfront and honest is much better. Girl, I gotta be upfront and honest. You got a nice butt and I'd like to screw your brains out. Ha, I'll have to give it a try, I guess. When I was 16 10 years ago, my parents told me to go into everywhere I wanted to get a job, ask for the manager, shake their hand and hand them my resume while introducing myself. 9 places out of 10 told me to apply online. Don't talk to strangers is good advice when you're a kid. It's terrible when you're an adult because now you have no idea how to network with others. You can talk to me about anything. Spoiler alert. No, they can't most of the time. Not their fault per se, but it gets real annoying when people insist I can talk to about any problems I face, then they get defensive when I point out something they don't like. Oh, I am so glad because this has been weighing me down. I am so in love with your 12-year-old. Now, our state allows for marriage at 13 if the parents approve. So I'm hoping that you can talk to your wife and we can get this moving by their next birthday. Go to stores and hand out resumes. Made a day of it. Not a single place I went to took my resume. They all asked that I applied online. When I looked online, none of them had a place where a resume could be submitted. For entry-level stuff and retail, they really don't need a resume. The application is all they really need from you. Live like every day was your last. Great, there goes my savings account. And my son is getting freaked out by my daily farewell speech. Cries on the side of the road. I don't wanna die. I'm so young. It's better to whole but one thing than to half but two things. One of the lessons I'm trying to teach myself is the value of half a job done. I don't do things that need to be done because I was always taught you dang well do it right the first time. If you sweep the floor, it better be completely and totally spotless when you're done. For example. So if I don't have the energy to get into every nook and cranny, I don't sweep. And then my floor gets way grosser than if I'd just done it and done a crappy job. Perfect is the enemy of good. Don't buy a house with fewer than 3 bedrooms. Well, if I didn't, I wouldn't have been able to buy a house at all. One dumbass gets advice from another dumbass. Buddy told me to put the lid on the grill while the lighter fluid was soaking in the coals. When I lit the grill, the fireball burned all the hair on my face and half the hair on my arm off. There are women who pay good money for that service. You should be thankful. Not me, but advice I gave to a friend. Apparently my delivery of said advice did not convey the absolute sarcasm I had intended. He had taken and failed his driving test numerous times. While lamenting his latest failing grade, I tell him next time he should lock the doors and tell the instructor they aren't leaving until he gets a passing grade. In a couple weeks, when he was able to retake it again, he came into lunch saying they had banned him from taking the test for a month after he actually tried it. This is my favorite. XD. I've always thought that do what you love and you'll never work day in your life shtick was balls. It's like setting your favorite song as your alarm. It doesn't make waking up nicer, just makes you hate the song. Go do something you can tolerate, that pays you well enough, and if you're extra lucky leaves you feeling satisfied. I set a song I loved as my ringtone, but I was working a job where any calls I got were a bad thing. So now I don't like the song and it gives me a small buzz of anxiety when I hear it. Some kid in year 5 told me that if you put your head underwater and breathe in with your nose heavily, then your voice will go squeaky like you've just inhaled helium. It didn't work and I almost died. Another person in year 1 said when I asked them how they got their hair curly, said that they got a comb and twisted it round. I tried this and it got stuck. Very stuck. I ended up cutting my hair off and had to get very short hair to hide the fact that I got a massive patch of short hair. I didn't even know it was possible to force your body to inhale underwater. Don't go to bed angry. If I listened to this, I would never go to bed some nights. Sometimes fights just happen because people are tired and irritable. Sleep on it, you'll often forget what you were so angry about last night. If you love them, let them go. If they come back to you, they are yours. This made me normalize toxic relationships where I keep letting abusive people back into my life. Also, theoretically, if you love something or someone, why the heck would you let it go? You keep them safe, you make them happy. Frick letting go. When it came down to bees and wasps, don't bother it and it won't bother you. Goes to feed and water dog outside. Get stung multiple times by wasp. Bees, maybe, but what they consider bothering them might be different to what you think it is. Wasps? Frick no. They will sting you in passing simply because it seemed like a fun thing to do. Don't worry about what other people think. Just be yourself. This is stupid because not only is it telling you to ignore constructive criticism, it's just plain wrong. Like if everyone says you're an butthole, you're probably an butthole and you should work towards changing that. Don't just ignore them. Also, be yourself has got to be the most meaningless tautology ever said. Everyone is themselves and everyone imitates some part of everyone else. We live in a society, damn it. Just move on. I had to confront him, glad I did. It wasn't a picturesque moment. He would have left me disappointed had I been hoping for decency. I only went there to look him in the eye to make sure this old man could see that I wasn't the little kid he had been abusing for all these years anymore. That I knew who he was and wanted him to leave me alone. Long story short, he denied pretty much everything. He even started to rewrite the cornerstones of our sordid history and ended up pulling a knife out on me when I called him on it. Anyway, I called the police. He denied pulling a knife out at first and then ended up telling them he did, but it was because I had threatened his life, which I didn't. Luckily the police managed to obtain the CCTV like I had asked them to and had seen that I had put my hands up and presented my torso for him to stab. I needed to call his bluff. I was 80% sure he wasn't going to do anything with the bleed, but I just had to know how far he was prepared to go. For a second beforehand, but what really felt like ages, I had considered taking his head off cleanly with one right hook, but I remembered he might actually die and I would have spent the rest of my good days left in prison. So I did the opposite. He didn't stab me. He was posturing and thought he could shoo me away in a fit of rage like he did in the old days, only with a blade this time. We'll see if it ends up going to court. At least I have a record of him harassing me now. Would I do it again? Yes, but I'm invested by blood. I needed to know how the story ends. Would I recommend it for someone else? Not unless you really have all your bases covered, and even then there's a razor thin margin of error in dealing with your abusers. There are better ways to move on, especially if you're not related. TLDR, I pity you, Dad. Yeah, it'd be nice if you could just drop horribly painful situations that happen to you like a piece of trash, but it doesn't work that way. If you are bullied, tell it to a teacher, parent, or say something mean back. Nah, you gotta knock them the frick out. Just talk to your supervisor about their behavior, and they use that discussion to become even more toxic, and even when you admit you don't think you can bring their problems up with them, and they say that's not okay and that they'll work on it, they become even more toxic. I love workplaces that insist you talk to the supervisor first when said supervisor is the problem in the first place. Never go to bed angry. Sometimes, what you're fighting about is dumb and not worth the time and energy to hash it out. Sometimes, you just need to go to sleep and wake up in a better mood tomorrow. A friend of mine said the best relationship advice she ever got was don't have any serious conversations with your spouse after 10 p.m. I think it's excellent advice. It's worked well for my friend and her husband. Apple cider vinegar bath for sunburn. The internet was really convincing. It all started when I fell asleep in the sun. Soon after, I looked similar to my poorly executed 3rd grade devil costume. My mom attempted to paint my body red with acrylic paint, except this time, the long streaky patches were from sweat and poorly applied expired sunblock instead of tears. Anyhow, the apple cider vinegar bath smelled real bad, so I put some peppermint oil in it. Well, the combination felt like an icy hot acidic surprise. For hours. Let me tell you, my lady bits have never felt more of a tang, and not in a minty fresh kinda way. Ginger here. Ocean potion ice is what you want. Far better than regular aloe. When I was driving up to a local skiing range with my friends and his parents, couple hours away, I get carsick on the way up and I asked my friend where I should throw up. He thought I was joking and said out the window. In the next few seconds I unroll the window and throw up out of it. It got all over our car and the one behind us. My friend's dad didn't really care too much, he thought it was mostly funny. Better on the car than in the car. Take the high road. Great advice for many situations but awful for others. Sometimes you need to set boundaries and speak your mind. Sometimes petty wins. You have to gauge what works for what situation. Just ask them out. The worst thing they can say is no. Actually, the worst thing they could say is I don't really find you attractive at all. I think we should stop being friends. On one hand, bullet dodge, but on the other, she was fun to hang out with. I mean, personally I would rather take that than be constantly around her while liking her a lot yet not being together. Saves you a lot of stress, bad feelings in the long run. If you put out positive energy, the universe will reward you. Mill. Take these clay pills. Antacids are bad for you. Mill. Don't use microwaves. They'll give you cancer. Mill. Smoking a cigarette. Not showing when something is bothering me. People can't tell when I'm upset with something they're doing, and they continue to do it until eventually I explode and yell at them. I was always told not to show when something bothers me, and it's kind of made me into a horrible person. Just be yourself. Number. Sometimes who you are is crap. You should be thin to change the negative parts of your personality. Be the better person and don't answer back. If you do this, revenge will be the only thing in your mind. I was bullied and I just kept my mouth shut. Worst thing, I don't answer back. It's a self-defense mechanism. All my goals are about revenge because of this. I'm too timid. I've been a pushover. I hate it. I hate my life. My wife read a book about money management. In this book, it said that instead of carrying credit card debt and having money in a savings account not making money, take the savings and pay off the credit cards, which will lower how much you pay in interest costs. Makes sense. Unfortunately, right after that, we had water flood our living room and very little savings to fall back on. Whoops. Though in theory you should have had some free credit space to work with instead. If your dog is experiencing stomach or digestion distress, feed him canned pumpkin. Not even Stanley Steamer could fix our carpet. LOL, been there. Usually that's for constipation and use only like a tablespoon. My mom was always the type to tell me to play hard to get with men. Guess what? Not only does that not work, but it's exhausting and ruins your chances at dating potentially good guys. Only took me once to realize that advice is lame as crap. I had a principal who came in to observe me in my classroom of special needs kids. My kids were educable, so some had lower IQs but not to the level where they were just trainables. I had one girl with cerebral palsy, 2 with learning disabilities, and 2 that had Down syndrome, one of whom was also deaf. Principal was a former kindergarten teacher, and she decided that the best way for me to maintain order at my kidney table was to make mention to everyone how a particular child was doing a particular thing, and then all the other kids would want to imitate that child and order would be restored. I tried to explain to her the way I ran my classroom and that might work with her kindergartners, but my students were being taught different ways of following directions. She would not hear any of it and insisted I needed to follow her advice. So, I resigned myself to trying her method. So when some of the kids wouldn't settle down one day, I made mention of the fact that I really liked the way Michael was sitting. Michael continued to sit very nicely at the table while some of the other kids played around. I repeated myself, saying how we should all notice how nicely Michael was sitting and got the same result. One of my very serious little boys with learning disabilities raised his hand and pointedly asked, "But Miss Wilson, didn't you tell us to mind our own business and not worry about what other people were doing?" Do what you want and you will never work a day in your life. Technically correct, but probably not what you want. Better advice is to do what you are relatively good at, can do without getting bored, and which is actually in demand. There was a life hack posted a while back that said rocking back and forth on the toilet makes it easier to crap. So here I am, rocking back and forth, swinging a jookie halfway out of my butt, feeling like an absolute insane person. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.